It is believed that prisons have existed in one form or another since ancient times, with the earliest records dating back to more than 3,000 years ago. At the moment, the global prison population is in the region of 11 million people. Despite these surprising statistics, the average person doesn't really know too much about how the prison system operates or what life is like during incarceration. Prisons are regarded as dangerous and lawless places, and there are many misconceptions and misunderstandings which have been propagated by television and cinema as well. This is why we have done the research for you, giving you an insider's perspective on life in prison. We're passionate about exploring varied and interesting topics, and if you would like to continue seeing more insights and explorations, then please subscribe. It is usually assumed that when someone is in prison, they are locked away in an empty cell with only their cellmate for company. Most cells, however, will have a small television which displays a limited range of stations and channels. This applies to the majority of prisons, although the high-security ones may not offer this privilege. Still, prisoners can lose access to their televisions if they break any of the rules or are found to be misbehaving. What's more, inmates aren't expected to sit inside their cells with nothing to do. Depending on the category of the prison and the seriousness of the offense, prisoners should be permitted a period of time every day where they can solicitate with others in the common areas. Many of them are expected to undertake some form of work or education so that they can demonstrate they are using their time usefully and productively. On another note, overcrowding in prisons is a concerning and serious issue. What makes this even more problematic is the huge number of prisoners who have been convicted of non-violent crimes and can't afford bail. These prisoners are therefore expected to remain in prison until their trial, which could take months and perhaps even years, even though they are eligible for release. And bail is just the beginning. A lot of the prisoners who have committed non-serious offenses are sitting in prison because they can't afford legal representation or sufficient resources. Ex-convicts have observed that not everyone in prison is as violent or malicious as they are generally perceived to be. For example, they have reported that prisoners come from every walk of life, and there were those who had invaluable insights and practical wisdom to offer other inmates. What's more, not everyone or everything is black and white or binary as it may appear at first sight, and some prisoners use their time behind bars to reflect and regret the choices and decisions they've made so far. It might be surprising to learn that prisons have shops for their prisoners. Inmates have the opportunity to work whilst also receiving an income, although it is important to keep in mind that they are restricted to a lower prison wage. From the shop, prisoners can purchase various edibles such as crisps and sweets, as well as toiletries, clothing and shoes. Of course, the exact items which are available in the shop will depend on the individual prison. Another secret which many people aren't aware of is that prisoners don't have the liberty of calling their family and friends whenever they want. In a time where calling someone is practically free, prisoners are still expected to pay significant amounts of money in order to communicate with their loved ones. They have to ensure that they have sufficient funds in their personal phone account, either via money sent from outside or earned whilst in prison. Any electronic devices with Wi-Fi capabilities are prohibited in prison, but security breaches are commonplace, wherein prisoners will gain access to a mobile phone and the internet. As far as visitors are concerned, prisoners are only allowed a limited number of visits every month. Inmates who demonstrate good behavior, however, can be rewarded with more frequent and longer visits from family and friends. When former prisoners describe their experiences, one of the first pieces of advice they give is that the prisoners who listened instead of talked were the most likely to leave relatively unscathed. Even though it might sound ironic, respect and loyalty are important aspects of prison life. Remaining as unbiased and objective as possible was crucial to survival, whether it was staying away from disagreements and arguments, not discussing incidents or problems with guards and inmates, or not getting involved in cliques and gangs. There is no doubt that prisons are dreary and soulless places, but there is no reason for this apathy to be extended to their inhabitants as well. Many prisoners are incarcerated for non-violent crimes, and they have no choice but to survive in prison until they go to trial and are charged or dismissed accordingly. Life in prison is so different and alien to life outside prison, and adjusting to the restrictions, policies, and environment is certainly draining. Prisons are strange places, and what goes inside them is even stranger, with the secrets we've described being only a glimpse into the other side. If you are an inquisitive soul who is passionate about learning and knowledge as we are, then please like, share, and consider subscribing to this channel for more explorations and discussions.